edge of the universe, 400 men and women are probing the immeasurable blackness of space. Their leaders are an Earthman with no fear and a stranger with no heart. Travel beyond our time and solar system, into new galaxies, into worlds beyond your dreams. Star Trek, every week, in color.
What do you mean Larry's not going to be here? The doctor dropped out too? What? Oh, hey. Hi, everybody. It's me, your old pal Dantron. Welcome to Serious Star Trek because it's Tuesday. It's 3 p.m. Pacific Earth time, so it must be time to talk about Star Trek. Unfortunately, Captain Fun's been sucked into the black hole of entertainment known as the San Diego Comic-Con. But if I know my captain, and I do, he'll fight his way out and he'll come back with stories to tell and new adventures and artifacts from strange and foreign lands. It's going to be fantastic. Dr. Price, Dr. John E. Price, PhD, that is, told me that he might make it. He'd let me know today, but he never let me know. So he's not going to show up. Do you think that's going to stop me? Do you think that's going to stop Dantron? We're almost right. It almost did. And I called friend of the show, a big show, Ryan Shaneman, and he was in. But then work-related stuff, he had to drop out earlier today, so I got nobody. But you know what? Here I am. I'm going to soldier on. I'm going to do the first ever Serious Star Trek solo Dantron special. So the captain and the doctor are out of commission. So let's talk a little bit about what Star Trek. Do we do it here? Man, maybe today we can have some fun and I can give us a little tour of the strip of the ship a little bit too, and we can see some of the corners of the ship that we almost never see. Maybe I'll jump around a little bit. So we could stay here in engineering for a little bit. Yeah, sorry. I couldn't get a hold of anybody, but it's okay. Fellas, I appreciate it. I got my robotic pal to keep me company here somewhere. Yeah, there she blows. No, I don't even have her. Jeez, oh man, can you believe it? Yeah, we got problems, folks, but it's okay. Let's talk about Star Trek. So, Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 5. What was the title of this thing? It was called Charades. Kind of cool. Cool name. I just realized now how it connected to the final scene. Kind of forgot that was the title. This is a wacky Spock episode, so I was really looking forward to a hot take from Dr. Johnny Price, PhD, who I know just hates it. One, he hates the new guy playing Spock. I think he's fine. He's okay. I mean, he's good enough. I view him as a younger Spock. I guess he is obviously a younger Spock. I thought it was kind of cool to get the family dynamic. Probably, please. So I thought it was cool to see some of the Vulcan family dynamics. I thought it was cool to get a little bit of insight into the Spock relationship with his mother. But did his mother seem really young to anybody out there? Like too young to be Spock's mother? Because how old? This is where John would chime in with, well, in Stardate, blah blah blah, Spock was not 82, so I don't know if it makes sense or not. My wife just commented, she's like, why is Spock's mom so young? Yeah, Chris Sagasag, friend of the show, says yes. I think he's agreeing with me. She seemed too young, right? Yay, Chris agrees with me. So yeah, it didn't seem right. Anybody out there know how old is Spock? I don't have the guys. I can't do the Googling myself like I normally would do. How old is Spock supposed to be? I wasn't sure that made a tremendous amount of sense. However, in the spirit of Captain Fun, we set that kind of stuff aside. Those are nitpicks and quibbles. You're allowed to talk about them, but you may not dwell on them. Larry wouldn't. You know, it's super future times, right? People look a lot younger, a lot longer. The actors are 11 years apart. Okay. But in the future, people look younger longer. I'm just taking that for granted. They have to, right? God, I hope so. In the not too distant future, anyway. So we'll buy that. Weird, like dining ceremonies, dining Vulcan tea ceremonies. Okay. Persnickety Vulcan racist Vulcan mom. Mwah, I love it. I loved it. Vulcans thinking that humans smell bad and actively taking nasal suppressant. The nasal thing doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me that Spock can't smell oregano or basil, turmeric, what have you. That doesn't make a ton of sense. Are there examples of Spock smelling things? How about when he's on that hippie planet with those flowers and he smells I don't know. Spock can smell stuff. I thought it was funny though, and probably true, that Vulcans might think humans smell funny. And I like the stuck upness it implies about Vulcans and the sci-fi racism. That's how you do racism the right way in sci-fi. Interspecies racism, boom, we're all about it. What else did I enjoy? Oh, Pike cooking, right? It is funny. I do think it's kind of interesting. His cabin is way over the top with the fireplace and the full, like, blown. He's got an island in his kitchen. I get that he might have a galley kitchen and he whips up some stuff, but okay. But he's got a full, like, HGTV remodeled mini, not even micro, not even like from the tiny house show. Like, he's got the full on, like, cribs spread going on in his cabin. And so I kind of like the cooking stuff, but they're leaning on it really hard. Anson Mount is leaning really hard on his comedic chops, which are pretty good. He's funny. I still buy him. I like him as a captain. I like that they've gone out of their way to differentiate his style from, like, how a Kirk would have run the ship. Okay, let's talk about Spock as a human. I'm only going to talk so much about this episode, then I want to talk about some other stuff, and then we'll probably end this thing early. I don't know. Who knows? So Spock had to meet the parents. This was the meet the parents, right? And then, of course, wackiness ensues. This is a sitcom plot. I hate to tell anybody. I'm sure everybody realizes it, but this, like, could have been Three's Company or what else? What it could have been anything. It was Dick Van Dyke Show. It could have been whatever. You're meeting, the boss is coming and coming to dinner, and wackiness ensues. So it's all about the execution. If you're going to buy in that you can have funny episodes of Star Trek, and I'll buy it, you can. You got to make the jokes work, and I think for the most part they did. I laughed, I think, in the right places. I liked the sniveling Vulcan father-in-law, and how, like, really it was totally the Vulcan woman that ran the show. I just thought that was funny. That was something cool that we don't see. You don't see a lot in a lot of foreign cultures that are often considered to be, like, male dominated, including my alter ego, Dan Shaheen's, like, Arab and Palestinian, and just, you don't get to see that other side of things. So I enjoyed that, because, cultures that we consider traditionally male dominated is what I'm trying to say, like, say, Arab cultures. But then you're in an Arab family, and then who runs the show, and it's mom who's running the show, not just behind the scenes either, like in front of the scenes, in front of everybody. It's clear who holds the power there, but it's a different power dynamic that we're not always comfortable with. So I thought it was cool that they brought that stuff in. That's how you deal with those kind of issues like racism in sci-fi without having to be so ham-fisted. Doesn't have to be about Frank Gorshin, being half black on the left side, or was it the right side, and that it doesn't have to be that in your face, but like a mixed marriage scenario. I remember my own mother-in-law, rest in peace, had warned my wife when she heard she was dating a Palestinian man to be careful, just to watch out, because sometimes they can dominate their women. And then she met me and realized that what a pushover I am, and that was all going to work out well. That one episode, you're right. You're right, Dave. That one episode with the misunderstanding. So pretty clearly, like, they went for they're going for laughs in this, but then also setting up another thing, a sort of will they, won't they situation for Spock and Nurse Chapel that they had sort of teased in previous episodes, or not teased, they had sort of hooked up a little bit, and now they are officially, I guess, an item. They're friends with benefits, or crew members with benefits, whatever it is. I'm pretty sure it's breaking some rules and laws of Starfleet, but like, they're pretty cash about it on the Enterprise. Anson Mount seems like he'd be cool with it. The thing is, though, she's part of that gossipy crew, right? Chapel's part of the crew of women, which I'm starting to grow on me, this different kind of crew dynamic. It's not male dominated, but it doesn't feel exclusionary. It feels real. It feels like a real kind of workplace environment. That's what this whole show. This was Cheers. This was Three's Company. This was any of your classical sitcoms, and then with Star Trek. So for a dude like me, a Gen Xer / wannabe Greatest Generation, it feels right. It felt right at home. How do you guys think out there? Well, how do you guys feel about it? I thought that the comedy worked. The romance thing with Chapel and Spock, I hope it gets like a resolution within this season, and is not just like an ongoing thing. I'm pretty sure Spock's sticking with his wife. He's a stick with your wife kind of dude. But I'm trying to remember if this, again, how this reflects in canon. Spock is always the sexy one, though, so I think they're making the right move doing this and explicitly making Anson Mount this kind of domesticated Captain Pike that's like true to his wife. He is definitely not messing around with any side action on the Enterprise. And but then why not let Spock do it? Okay, so oh yeah, okay, what else did I like about this? I like the bureaucratic aliens. Pretty cool. Like a vision of the future we haven't quite seen before, but like seems very like total, like anybody who's ever gone to a government office or whatever, sat in line for needed benefits or needed anything at City Hall or what have you. They're making you jump through hoops, and the way they were named colors and stuff, just and of course the tone that they're talking in, the sort of monotone voice. Sure, is that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious, but it's pretty well done. Like, I liked it. Funny, added to the humor of the situation. I mean, we all knew there was no real gravity here, right? Like the real gravity, the real stakes were Spock's relationship with his wife. And even then, who cares? Right? Like, they did end up splitting up anyway, essentially, for a while or whatever. So they can set up this triangle thing. I didn't see, there's a lot more. Maybe it's just me, but if you got to choose between Nurse Chapel and T'Pring in this scenario, I don't think that's a hard. I think you could rigorously apply logic and come up with the same answer that I did. Okay, speaking of that, I've been thinking a lot lately just about like logic and emotion. And I've had all these profound thoughts that I thought like, oh man, I must be the first guy thinking of this stuff. But it's like, we've been thinking about it forever. They've been dealing with it since the original Star Trek series, obviously, but then also back to, the oldest philosophers. But I heard about an interesting metaphor. So I want to talk about this. This is called the elephant and the rider, right? And the idea is that, we're an emotional being. The elephant is your emotional brain, and the rider is your logical brain. And it's really the emotional brain that gives you the power to get to your destination, but it's the logical brain that guides it in the right place. And the emotional brain is easily distracted and like very headstrong and can get scared very easily, but ultimately is in charge. Right. And we've known about these things forever. And this is what like all advertising is sort of based around, this knowledge of human behavior, and that our emotions really lead everything. And it's like, I started thinking about this, and I don't know I haven't heard anybody put it in these words, but to rely on logic alone, and probably Dr. McCoy probably did, and like Larry would be piping in episode whatever, that to rely completely on logic is highly illogical, because one, most people don't like, and when I say most people, I mean pretty much everybody, even the most logical wannabe, like semi-autistic human like myself, computer programmer guy, like really just prided myself on being able to have a debate and like make the logical point no matter what the emotional meat of the subject is, and relying on what they call sophistry to be able to like make your point in the moment. But in reality, that's not what you feel in your heart of hearts. And I feel like that skill to do that is one thing, but then to use it to make money and to represent your opinion and do everything that you want to like come on YouTube and pander and try to pretend that you're something that you're not. And I don't want to accuse anybody, but I see a lot of people out there saying things that I go, this guy can't possibly believe the garbage that he or she is spouting. But then like the audience eats it up. Oh yeah, more. Super chat. So there's this huge incentive to be like super negative all the time. And that's a difficult thing to get over, like, well, especially for somebody who relies on this thing for income. Thank God I am not relying on YouTube for income, or I would be beyond destitute, folks, because yes, this channel is monetized, but on its best month, it'll make $40. And we haven't had a month like that for a long time. Our subscribers are staying pretty steady. I appreciate everybody who's watching this thing right now. If you haven't already, maybe think about going to YouTube, click thumbs up. If you've gotten this far, if you listen to me, if you like this thing, or really if you like John and Larry, because that's what this show is. I'm the producer of this show, and I ham it up, and I come in here and yak it up and do what I want, have fun with the special effects and all that good stuff. But like most of you guys come here because you're super, super into Star Trek like John and Larry are. Granted, I love it. I mean, I grew up loving it, original series and Next Generation, but anything beyond that just doesn't tickle me that much. And nothing against you if it does. So back to Strange New Worlds. What did I like? We liked overall the comedy, although they can't do that every episode. And they've been they've done a pretty good mix on the other ones of mixing high stakes and lower stakes. This one was an important one for pivoting, I guess, the arc of Spock and Chapel for the rest of the series. But beyond that, there wasn't huge stakes out of it. I was able to enjoy it, but I'll be honest, had to watch it 3 times. And this is me. I fall asleep a lot watching stuff, especially with my wife. Been thinking about doing a YouTube show where we both watch a show and then we just record my reactions of like me falling asleep and how much I could remember of what actually happened. Because I'll usually wake up right at the end too, so I'll see the climax, but I'll forget everything between the like first scene and that. So this one, okay. Where am I going to rank it on this season's episodes? Which one is my favorite? My favorite was probably the previous episode, because it was a very conventional Star Trek episode. They went to a strange new world, although as Rigel 7, I guess it's an old strange new world or strange old world. It's a strange old world. That was probably my favorite. My least favorite has the time traveling Khan and Kirk buddy cop in Toronto episode. I guess I'll give it up for them that they're stretching and they're like Star Trek. They're like, let's do a thing set on Earth, and figure out a good reason around it, a reason to do it. Same thing with this one. That's what this one smacks of. Like, we need to turn Spock human. How wacky and how fun would that be? So they did it. Pretty conventional, straightforward thing. Oh, how about the side plot of Chapel wanting to get that fellowship and being denied because she wasn't, by the books enough. And it was this whole like experience in the field versus book learning thing. That's just another thing to really like about Nurse Chapel. Like, that's a characteristic I like a lot. I bet you guys didn't know this. I didn't go to Starfleet Engineering School. Yeah, that's right. I'm all self-taught. I did all the upgrades myself. I don't know if I ever showed you guys. Thanks, Dave Porter, by the way, for that incredible touch of class. Mwah, the Desi logo, the Desi logo. I don't know if you noticed, I did the LCARS upgrades myself here in the transporter room. And it was a bitch because, they changed the socket connector type from a D type to an H type, the new connector type, and you got to upgrade. It's a scam. I got dongles out the ass on the back of this console here. You wouldn't believe it. It stinks. What else we got before I get out of here? Oh yeah, I was talking about the elephant and the rider. Let's finish up talking about that. So the elephant and the rider. At first I thought it was the elephant and the driver, but it really is the elephant and the rider, because the elephant is in control. And so this changed my life. It took getting married and having 2 female children. See, I'm from a family of boys. I have 3 older brothers. And my dad, while a strong personality, my mom is also a very strong personality. And so like, I was just a very logic driven guy. And my mom, ironically, the one who loved Star Trek in my family and brought me to Star Trek as a kid, she would always say, bah, logic. Because she would talk about things like, she wanted to remodel the house or whatever. And it's like, it didn't make quite logical sense to do it right at that moment necessarily. But like, she pulled from the gut, right? And so she had the feeling and the emotion, and that drove all her decision making. So it's good to be cognizant of this in ourselves, especially in ourselves, like when we're making emotional driven decision, which is almost every decision you make when you go to the shopping market, the supermarket, buy groceries, the color scheme of the packaging and where it's placed on what level plays a humongous psychological effect. Like, it's a whole filter of stuff going through your brain, and everything you've ever watched and absorbed or have altered this lens that you filter everything through. And like, they know it. They really know it. And they use this stuff against us. So part of this is why nostalgia is so strong and so powerful with such a like a thing that brings us back to Star Trek. Like, how many crappy Star Trek things can they put out before you give up? A lot, apparently, especially recently. I wasn't ready to buy into anything either until Strange New Worlds, because they just turned up the nostalgia. They're like, this thing, as compared to that Discovery. When I looked at Discovery, like I would look at it and I go, I don't know, is this in the future? Is this in the past? I guess it was in both. I just stayed away. I've never watched a single episode, I'll be honest, but this is a spin-off show of that, and I'm in for every episode. The other reason I disliked the time traveling episode, or we liked it and we disliked it, right? We liked it that they sort of acknowledged the fluid nature of time in at least the Strange New Worlds universe, the Discovery verse, the Kurtzman verse, whatever. Things are malleable. This is definitely not the timeline that you remember from the original series. Chris Sagasag likes to say that this is the alternate mission. Like if the cage had never happened, if the original pilot had been picked up, this is that universe. And I like that. That's perfect. That's a perfect jumping on point. But if you do that, I feel like it was the insertion of Khan and the Khan Noonien Singh, the Lon Noonien Singh character. I've said this before, but I just thought it was kind of a dumb way to introduce the character. They could have introduced a character called like Lana or Lon Singh, and it could have been revealed at least maybe into the pilot episode or later on, and her name is Noonien Singh, and that means something to somebody. It could have been a good thing. It could have easily fit into the way they're playing out this whole Khan time travel thing. So I don't really like the way they did that, other than like that actress. They wanted to give her plenty of time, and she is good. Like, I like her. I like her as a crew member, and I kind of like her as a character. Although I will say, from a descendant of Khan, I don't know. What did she pick up genetically from Khan that makes a difference? Just her spunky attitude, her ability to drink. We did learn that in one episode where they ripped off Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's the one thing we hate the most about Strange New World so far, is the sci-fi ripoffs. They ripped off Alien with the Gorn stuff, and that was no good. And there have been other ones that are, I guess we could call them homages, if you want to be kind and you want to be fair, and that's okay. It's a whole new generation of people. A lot of people, it's crazy to think of how many kids or young people who might be sci-fi fans have never seen Alien or Aliens. Sounds like Lady Dantron's getting home. So anyway, I'm gonna chug on out of here. I was gonna play a cartoon. Did I set it up? Let me see. If I set it up, maybe I'll play it. Just so that we could have some fun. I thought it's not that long. It's only like a minute and 30 seconds. I think I set it up. Let me see.
I can't believe we've overlooked this week's winner for so very, very long.
Wait a minute.
We simply could not function without his tireless efforts. So, a round of applause for this inanimate carbon rod.
That was not the cartoon that I wanted to play. That was an old thing that I made for like one of the first episodes of Serious Star Trek that I played, and the audio never played. So I got it to play. That's great. Do I want to play this cartoon now? Save it for another time. I was going to play it, but I don't have it all queued up. And I didn't exactly do a great job keeping our viewership alive during this half an hour. But what can I say? I'm a one-man band. I'm a one-man crew. I thought about doing more live streaming, just solo live streaming like this, but like, man, it takes a lot of preparation, a lot of work. And then you got to come back. You got to do these streamers. They'll do 8 hours, 6, 8, 10 hours of these a day. And then like chop that down and edit it, which means you have to watch all that stuff. Ain't nobody got time for that. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it, buddy. I think you and maybe Chris Sagasag might be the two people watching. Nah, there's a few more. People are coming in and coming out. I'll get out of here soon, but what do I want to do? I don't know. Let's look around. Let's look at some of the other sets that I've got, and then I'll take us out of here. I do all these setups that I often don't even use. Wait a minute. Yeah, I don't even use these things, but we've got them. You guys have all seen Cloud City. I don't know if you've seen the Colt 45 high gravity logos we've added. It's our new sponsor, by the way, Colt 45 high gravity. Can you believe they did a high gravity? How perfect is that for a Cloud City, Lando Calrissian kind of like a bit of love? I think that's pretty cool. What else have we got? We got the Red Dwarf set. You guys noticed? I don't know if anybody cares about Red Dwarf. I know Larry hates it or has never watched it. I don't think John Price has watched it. To me, it's so good and so funny and such a thing I loved. Watched on public TV when I was a kid, but like Larry's not much in for that kind of stuff. Although strangely enough, he loves Lower Decks, right? This was from the set. This was like Dave's Lister's cabin, but then I added the Starbug, and then I added the Tom Servo over here. Some of my earliest Blender stuff. I don't come in here a lot because most people are not. Chris Sogsog's heard of Red Dwarf. Are you a fan, Chris? Because I love it. But I'm hang on, guys. Sorry, guy. Sorry. My wife came in here like it's an emergency. Like, she's setting the world on fire. She's look at this rock I found, essentially, on the beach. Give me. All right, let me see. Let's see if anybody's impressed by this. Lady Dantron.
This took me an hour and a half to find on the beach.
Lady Dantron, ladies and gentlemen. Hi. Yeah, an hour and a half of searching through the beach. My wife, can you see this? World internet. Yeah, it's an agate, and it's pretty impressive, babe. Get out of here. She'll like a meth addict on the beach, like just combing, looking, focusing on this. But you're in the most beautiful beach, some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. In the part of Northern California where Dantron hangs out. And like she is looking face down in the sand at like the smallest amount of sand you could look at. I just find it hilarious. But then she finds treasures like that. That is usually the ones she finds are like, teensy weensy. That is definitely one of the biggest I've ever seen somebody find. So, yeah, thanks, Chris. I recommend it too. I'm always recommending stuff here that nobody watches. Other thing I'm going to go out and just recommend again and again is the work of Ian Hubert. And we watched some stuff here again, but that's a name. He's one of the Patreon few. I have several Patreon things, right? Patreon accounts that I patronize, and I spend $7 a month on because I find it so useful, the stuff he gives, and I'm considering going to the $25 a month level because it's so amazing the kind of stuff that he's doing. I'm going to show an example right here. I've showed this before on the show. I keep trying to get young Walker Young to watch this thing, or to watch more stuff by Ian Huber. Let's just show this. So what's amazing about this guy, I'll continue in a second, is this is all done by one guy in a program called Blender that you can all download for free. It costs nothing, and it does amazing things. And this guy does some of the most amazing stuff. He builds every single thing from scratch, and then he also posts amazing tutorials on how he did this stuff, including posting like Blender files and the assets that he used to create this stuff, and the techniques and tricks and tips that he used as a professional VFX guy. And now he's totally solo. This is the future. If this strike really does break the back of the entertainment industry, and it could, the future is going to be crowdfunded and self-funded stuff like this. Let's watch.
They jitter.
Your mouth's a champion.
Now, you don't have to just believe me. This guy's been interviewed on one of my favorite YouTube channels, the Corridor Crew. The visual effects artists react, that stuff. That's my Saturday morning cartoons, is watching that show. Sometimes with my kids, sometimes not, depending if it's really scary. Sometimes they watch scary stuff, so I got to watch it first. But so he's been on there before, and he's also done all these talks at the Blender conference, and he's got so much free stuff on YouTube that will just blow your mind. He really inspired me that you can do things by yourself now that would have been unheard of. Like that, what we just saw there, you would think would take a team of many people. If you look at the credits of modern movies and stuff, the VFX credits, they're long, hundreds, if not thousands of people in some of them. This guy's proved that there's a lot you could do, especially now in the world with photo scanning. You can do a lot more. Wait a minute, where have I got? I got one here. Yeah. So using photo scanning and then combining it with Blender to do soft body physics effects to make that mask look like an actual like rubber, give it that real nice rubberiness. This was so fun to learn how to do, and I think it looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but what the hell? I'm using free tools. In this case, I used Luma AI to capture that bit of myself. You can just sort of take a video and it'll capture it. But in other cases, I've been using Polycam a lot on my new Google Pixel phone. This one I captured my daughters in Luma AI, but I captured the kitty cat. Oh, wait a minute. I captured the kitty cat in Polycam, and I brought them together in Blender for this super quick and cheesy animation that I really enjoyed it, making it, learning what I had to do this. Once I learned it and captured these things and have them in my asset library, I've just been scanning things, building things, adding them to my libraries. Then I can mix and match and kind of combine them. Let's see what else we got. I made this one this morning too, with the same ones, just animating the camera this time instead of the thing. Now I know it doesn't look perfect. The girls' faces don't look great at all. In fact, I've been thinking about it's actually be perfect to use this in some kind of like horror scenario, I think. I think it's pretty neat though. Yeah, and this is fast to render. It renders using I use the EV rendering engine that works in like almost real time compared to like the other old rendering engines like Cycles. It could take minutes per frame. Ain't nobody got time for that to like wait a day or something to even see if this looks good. With the EV, I can spit it out, and it's hard for me to tell the difference depending on what you're doing. When you're doing certain stuff with like a lot of transparency and reflections and stuff, there's no doubt Cycles is better, but I like EV in this case. Am I getting too technical? I don't care. There's no one to stop me. It's Dantron gone wild, right? Like, oh my gosh. Okay, now here's a set that you probably will recognize. However, I did my patented 3D satellite thingy here for my satellite cam bot. Notice it goes behind me and it goes in front of me, never quite hitting. Right? We do this in real time. We do it in real time. This was fun to work on. And I think I posted a tutorial about this, or maybe I've just been meaning to do a tutorial on it. Do it with a couple of different tricks, a few different layers of video, including myself as one of those layers, and just compositing it all together in OBS. And a little trick I learned in Blender on how to do a camera clipping so that there's one piece of video in front of me. Here, watch it. It gives away the game if I get in the way. All right. Yeah. You can see where the clip in front ends and the one behind it begins, but they're playing in perfect sync to each other, but they were rendered separately with alpha channels, and they're composited in real time in OBS in front of your eyes, Oh my gosh. Right now, Larry and John Price, if they've bothered to watch this thing, are just shaking their heads like, what? What? I don't care. I'm going to continue. The tour goes on as we go into the back of the Johnny cab. This one's fun. One thing that really upped my composite set game recently was a recent upgrade. Hey, get out of here, you. Was OBS adding animated transitions for any layer on the screen. This is humongous. This was huge because I used to be, if I wanted Johnny Cab here to do a nice slide out, like you see here, like that, whoop, or pop back up like that. I would have had to render that myself, like in After Effects with an alpha channel, and do the animation myself. But in just a recent release, they changed that. So now, like for instance, I can also alter that and say, oh, Johnny Cab now, slides out to the right, pops up, slides out, pops up, slides out. And I can do the same thing with my camera. Whoop, camera slides out, whoop, camera slides in. That was supposed to be like me getting into the car, I think. Whoop, hey, Johnny Cab. Good fun. What else do we got that I haven't showed in a while? This is one of my first AI inspired ones. Let's see if I can do this here. Wait a minute. Put the L cars up, turn the camera big off. How do we do this? Is it like this? Yeah, and now Dantron behind the set. Now this set was animated in not animated. It was generated using artificial intelligence. I asked for a sort of futury newsroom set, and I liked it. I thought it looked okay. got into Photoshop, did a little masking, pulled the desk out, went into Blender, manipulated and added another layer for the video there. And Bob's your uncle. I've made so many of these things that I forgot that did that. I didn't realize that was going to happen, and I forgot that I made that. Okay, guys? Oh my gosh. This is what I do in my spare time between these things. Whoop. Let's see that again. Yeah, that was cool. How do we do that? Like this.
Destruct sequence completed and engaged.
So this stuff was animated in Blender, and I think I took the LCARS stuff. I got it from lcars.org.uk. If you haven't gone there, you want to, because they've just captured all the LCARS screens that were used in many, many different series, and they have it broken down by series, and you can download these really cool LCARS animations. I've used a lot of them on my sets, and in the beginning, I used to always play an LCARS animation that nobody ever commented on, and I would search for, and I would do all this work to do. Oh, well. Oh, my God. This one, what is going on here? I don't even remember. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is where I was just messing around with some new stuff. We don't need that. We don't need that. I don't even need that. How about R2 in the hallway? Wait, no, that's not the good one. Wait a minute. We redid it. Yeah, a little bit better. I don't know. You tell me. And then I can just pop the hatch open. Turn the camera back on here. Wait a minute. There we go. Beep. Yeah, I love it. And they added all these little layer animations to OBS. So, like, now I can make rudimentary elements with alpha channels, composite them in real time as if they were layers in, like, in Photoshop, if you've used Photoshop before. But then I can, and they offer a really wide variety of transitions, not just slide in, slide out, like all kinds of stuff. Excuse me. And I used a lot of this stuff to do like this, the Greek news set. So my hand, you know, it can go, it's behind this, but in front of those. But I can only go so far before it breaks the illusion. And then, of course, anything too, like, distorting to perspective breaks the illusion. But sometimes it makes it look pretty cool, too. Where did I get? Recently, I did a new one. Where is that one? Hover bike. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then I gotta try to match. Wait a minute. If I try to match the rocking, it almost sells the illusion. Not bad. This one, how do I do this? Oh, this is similar to the orbiting satellite one with 2 layers on it. How did I do that? Like, there's a front layer that I rendered in Blender, and there's a back layer that I rendered in Blender. Whoop. And then all these things, yeah, are grouped together. You can make a group in OBS of multiple layers and then add a transition on the group. Hey. Yeah. I'm a dork. It's fine. What else have we got in here? Oh my gosh, I got a lot. Oh, I was working on this one. I just call this one generic sci-fi. And this is the most boring one of them all. And this is the one I'm going to end it on because I got to get out of here, man. It's been 50 minutes. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for a dude sitting here talking about nothing. Thanks everybody who watched. I appreciate it. Let's get you out of here, and I'll play a little clip to make it worth your while for having stuck around this long. We'll see you later. What do we want to spend? Oh, this is the one. Royalty free. Oh, yeah, on the internet.